Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network as we get set for Game 2 of today's doubleheader between your Concordia University Chicago Cougars and the visiting SaberCats of Maranatha Baptist University. And Peter Borkowski here on the Cougar Sports Network, joined this time by Dave Deimling. And Dave, we saw quite a match for the Cougars to open up their 2024 season. Last game, absolute domination of the SaberCats. Won the game 3-0. They didn't lose any set by they didn't win any set, by less than 10 points. And Dave, really the story of last game was some of the standout freshmen for the Cougars. And let's start with the man who was the kill leader. Let's talk about Jackson Stella a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. The Cougars really dominated. Jackson Stella with 15 kills leading the team. And then we're going to also look at Hoffman, who had 12, and Vales with 9. They really took care of business, as you said earlier.
Right, and continuing from last season was the Cougars' primary setter. Eli Mosher, the sophomore, had himself a fantastic opening game in the assist department, coming off a year where he broke the single-season assist record. Looks like he's right back at home in that first game, Dave.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 30 assists. That's going to be a great start to the season. You can only expect great things from him. He's going to take care of business this season.
Well, the teams exchange high fives as we're just about a minute away from starting Game 2 here. Cougars, they look to kick off the 2024 season with a 2-0 record. Meanwhile, Maranatha Baptist, this is a team, they went 1-30 last year as they look to get into the win column for the first time this year. They got vastly improved play throughout the first game, but they're going to need a little bit more if they want to be able to take care of business in Game 2 here against the Cougars. But, Dave, something that I think we need to keep an eye out for, which I know is something all athletes can tell you about, is the level of fatigue from these two teams.
No doubt about it.
They played the 3 sets in Game 1, and now they got at least another 3 sets to go here in Game 2. It's going to be interesting to see which of these two teams gets tired here quicker in the second match.
Yeah, you really hope both teams are able to stay healthy no matter the fatigue issues. But, yeah, no doubt about it. Fatigue can definitely play a big issue with back-to-backs. Haven't come up yet since their opening day, but
especially when you look at the Cougars roster. I mentioned it in Game 1. This is a roster. Only 9 guys are listed. Only 3 subs for second-year head coach Greg Manos. Maranatha Baptist, they got about 5 subs dressed on their bench, but as Dave pointed out, when you're opening the season with a doubleheader in short succession, there's only about 30 or so minutes in between games 1 and 2. You got to be careful to see which players get tired quicker as we're underway here in game number 2. Jackson Stella tried to open up with a kill. Instead, here's Marcin Hoffman. And that ball is just going to drop down. Maranatha Baptist, some bad communication there, and that leads to point number 1 for CUC.
Yeah, I really like the soft touch there. They try to go hard at the beginning, try to mix it up a little bit, change it up, give the defense a new look.
David Vales, the first CUC serve of Game 2 is a good one. Maranatha Baptist has to play some defense and right into the net off the arms of number 20, Jacob Valeria. And Cougars, they jump out to a quick 2-0 lead here in game number 2.
Yeah, that's a big man right there. Jacob Valeria standing at 6'7". This senior, if you're the SaberCats, you really got to hope that you can get that guy at the net a lot more.
Valeria was one of the team's leaders last game as they need a little bit better game out of him and the rest of the team. And now an error on the Cougars side makes it 2-1. First time today we've seen number 18, Leon Gazovsky, another freshman on this CUC team. Didn't play in Game 1, and in Game 2, off to a rough start with some mistiming there. Next serve is played by Deontay Garcia. Back at Libero, and now Gazovsky sends that ball out of bounds. And all of a sudden, we are tied up 2-2 here in game number 2. Serve here from J.J. Schofield. Had some serving troubles in game 1, and Marcin Hoffman out of nowhere. And, Dave, that's the first time you've seen that today, but I will tell you, in game 1, all we saw off of Hoffman was absolute rockets just like that.
Yeah, that's impressive from the freshman. He's jumping out of the gym, it looks like. That's a great look from the freshman right there.
And we're talking about, the key players from last year who have since graduated, and one of the biggest names was Luke Vozenelik. He's in the record books all over the place for kills, and that's going to be a big task for Coach Greg Manos this year, is looking to find who can replace Luke Vozenelik offensively as the SaberCats tie it up 3-3 here. Real
good touch from Daniel, number 12 right there. Yeah, I totally agree with you. When you're going to lose record book players right there, that's going to be one of the things that's going to take time to try to recover from. But with a young class like this team right here, you hope maybe it's among them right now as we speak, and they're going to grow and continue to turn into those potential record players as well.
As that serve goes out, CUC retakes the lead, but that is a point you're making, Dave, and a point Greg Manos made in this past week's interview with him, which is, this freshman class, when you're a freshman class on a small team like the Cougars, you don't really have time to kind of figure things out like a lot of freshmen do. A lot of freshmen, they might not see time their freshman year just due to, being a young player starting your collegiate career. But when you're this Cougars team, you got 9 guys total. You need those freshmen like Hoffman, like Stella to step up immediately and take in a big role from day one.
No doubt about it. When you look at the young class, they get put into potential maybe a leadership role right away. Your teammates, they're going to see, yeah, this guy's a ball player right here. And I'm going to have to up my game a little bit more, and that could be one of the things that make a team even better along the way is when they go through the struggles potentially at the beginning. Who knows, maybe they move on and they're able to grow as a team. It doesn't have to come all game one, but clearly it did for us. But we'll see how this season keeps going.
Well, Hoffman continues his hot start to his career with another kill. Now his serve not so hot as that lands in the net. We are tied up at 5. And Maranatha Baptist trying to avoid a rough start to the match like we had in game number 1. And his back to serve is Caleb Getz. Senior serve is good. Now here's Ayaz Arif. He'll get a kill. Another freshman of this Cougars team.
Beautiful.
You look at this roster, as I mentioned, only of the 9 players listed, only one upperclassman, which is senior David Vale, as everyone else is either a sophomore like Deontay Garcia, Tiki Johnson, Eli Mosher, Van Gato, or freshman like Arif, Hoffman, Stella, and Gazovsky.
Yeah, you get to see a little bit of power right there from Tyler Laycock. He shows you what he's about, standing at 6'7" as well. He's got some power behind him.
And that is one thing, Dave, that the Cougars are kind of missing on this roster is if you look down, you look at the heights on this team, there isn't a ton of height. You have Jackson Stella at 6'5". Everyone else is 6'3" or below, which, to the average person, 6'3". As that's an absolute rocket sent out off the dig. CUC.
Sounds like he might have heard you talking about his height. Doesn't matter when you got that much power.
No, power comes in power, but, when going back to that height point, where that's going to mostly take effect is the front row, is the blocking, is the defense. When you're just missing that height, those front lines are going to have to play a little bit taller, a little bit more vertical in terms of their jumping ability to make up for those couple inches they might be missing. As Tiki Johnson's serve landed to Valeria, and as I'm talking about front row defense, there's a good block up front. Vales and Gazovsky getting up for the block. CUC up 8-6 now. Going back to serve once more is Tiki Johnson. Maranatha Baptist in control. Laycock, his attack is blocked as the Cougars get another point there.
Beautiful touch from Tiki right there. He spots the defense where they're located. Simply just put it where they aren't. It's going to take care of business for them.
And I think we've already kind of seen that in this first game, Dave, is at some points Maranatha Baptist, as Johnson will get a service ace right there. Tiki Johnson on a roll. But it's kind of stuff exactly like that where Maranatha Baptist's defense, they just look a little out of sort. They're letting balls fall kind of in no man's land like you talked about. It looks like the communication could just be shaped up a little bit better.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You got to hope for them that they're going to be able to turn around some of those things by the end of the year. You got to be thinking about last year potentially. It might be still in the back of their minds, and they want to be a little bit better than last year.
Right, again, a 1-30 overall record last year for the SaberCats team. They didn't win a set in any of their 30 losses. All 3 of their total set wins came in their 1 win, as there's Gazovsky. He'll get a kill. That is kill number 1 of Gazovsky's career.
A lot of hang time for Gazovsky right there. I mean, he just hung up there, waited for his moment, and let it rip.
This is a Cougars team who you can tell really prides themselves on their athleticism. Again, even though they might not be the tallest team in the conference, they really pride themselves on stuff like that between Stella and Gazovsky, being able to just get up there and, like you said, Dave, have a little bit of hang time.
Oh, no doubt about it.
This is a team that you see in the gym here at CUC a lot, always hard at work with Coach Ken Howard, the lead fitness trainer here at CUC, making sure all the teams under his watch are in good shape, as there's a kill for Hoffman off the arms of Daniel Ernest. And Dave, now we're seeing CUC start to pull away here. It was a close opening to the set, and now thanks to a 3-0 scoring run, they're up 13-7.
Yeah, they're really starting to find their groove right about now. And as I say that,
of course, as we say that, the announcer's jinx rears its head. David Vale's a little too soft, but laughing about it, not getting too hung up on one bad serve, as it'll be J.J. Schofield to serve now, a 6'3" freshman on this SaberCats team. Schofield serve, a high arcing one. Deontay Garcia had to come all the way up to get it. Here's Hoffman, absolute missile.
Wow, you know, Hoffman right there just showing what he's been about this year so far. I mean, he's really come to play on this opening day between Game 1 and now to Game 2.
Between the 2 games already, in under 4 sets played, Hoffman is already at 18 kills on the season, as there's a service ace for Gazovsky. And the Cougars are absolutely rolling right now. Maranatha Baptist cannot do anything to keep up, as Gazovsky goes back to serve once more. Gazovsky is serve a little too strong on that one. And he'll check out for Deontay Garcia. SaberCats pull back within 6 as Jacob Valeria goes back to serve. Valeria, no jump on that serve, as the Cougars are able to play it. There's Stella. His attack is no good. Front row attack too strong off the hands of Daniel Says. And this Cougars now within 9 points of set victory.
You know, the one thing it looks like if you're a SaberCats fan here is you just got to try and keep it close, hang tight with them for now, and then once it's a little tighter competition, the Cougars start to get a little nervous. Maybe nervous juice is flowing, but right now they just got to give them a reason to be a little nervous, and so far they haven't.
No, that has really been the problem with the SaberCats all of today, as they do get a point there off an errant CUC touch, which is they haven't been able to put any kind of streak together. We've already seen in this first set of Game 2, CUC is able to put multiple points together. We just have not seen that from this Maranatha team. As there's a strong serve. David Vale's in the back row to receive. Arif went up for it, but landed before the ball even got to him. And now
athleticism, second effort right there.
Good recovery from Arif. And Laycock, he's blocked up front. Arif
all over that play right there.
We kept talking about him, but able to bounce up and down. And he's able to maintain his composure, get the kill, and now up 17-10. It'll be Marcin Hoffman to serve. Hoffman, the only player in general, with multiple kills in this second game, as that one lands just on the wrong side of the out-of-bounds line. 17-11 now. Caleb gets the serve for Maranatha.
As JJ will sub in.
JJ Schofield back in for the SaberCats. Won't get any kind of touch, though, as that serve goes way out of bounds. Point CUC, 18-11 to score. as Arif ready to serve. Vales, Johnson, and Gazovsky in the front row. Gato, Hoffman, and Arif in the back as that goes off the fingertips of Arif. Point SaberCats as they're trying to put some kind of momentum here together. You're going to need it down by 6 as CUC is just 7 away from claiming set 1. Titus Houston back to serve. Houston a stand-up serve, no jump needed. Here comes Hoffman from the back row. That is just inside.
Oh, my. I don't know about that one, Peter. That one might have been a little close. SaberCats over there on the far side look to be a little distraught about that call, but Cougars will definitely take the point.
Well, they say football is a game of inches. I think that applies just as much to volleyball, especially on hits like that, but you're not going to hear any argument from Hoffman and the rest of the Cougars as they're now up 19-12. Tiki Johnson to Valeria, and up for the slam dunk was Stella. Maranatha Baptist trying to say a net violation. Ladder judge giving no love to the SaberCats as Cougars, they hit point number 20.
Yeah, unfortunately, you just can't afford to leave those ones up there for a guy like Stella. He's going to take care of business most of the time on those ones.
That was another aspect the Cougars dominated in game 1 was those 50-50 balls as Valeria pushes that one out. 21-12. Laycock says and Houston, the only SaberCats with kills so far through set number 1 as Tiki Johnson, his serve is received. Here comes Valeria, blocked up front, and it's going to stay in. A swing and a miss from Luke Nason on the dig attempt. And that makes it a 10-point lead now, 22-12. Tiki Johnson gets the signs from newest assistant coach on the Cougars, Danny Coates. His serve is played by the SaberCats. Gets to Hoffman in the back row. Johnson now in the front row. Sets up Stella, and Stella between the net and Valeria got it shoved right back at him, 22-13. As for the first time today, we will see Aaron Mayuller.
Yeah, the senior from Montgomery looking to make his presence known right here.
Did not see him at all in game 1 as his first serve of the day is a good one. Almost turned into a service ace. David Vales right there to save the day. And now a whistle blown and point SaberCats. Violation called on the Cougars as Mayuller tries desperately to get his team back into the set 1.
There seems to be a little bit of confusion down on the court. Potentially talking about a rotation issue.
Yeah, Coach Sean Spencer of the SaberCats trying to get his rotation in set. As now the judge who stands right by the scorer's table is looking over the rotation sheet.
And while this is all going on, you'll see some smiles over there from Concordia Chicago. They're enjoying the nice little 8-point lead right here in set 1.
And I think that's something that you notice especially as we're going to have a change of possession here. CUC as we'll get the ball due to the rotation errors on Coach Sean Spencer and the SaberCats part. But that is something that, Dave, you notice about this Cougars team is they always look like they're having a blast out there on the court. There's always smiles. Even when things aren't going their way, they know how to keep it light, which for any team you're talking about, the ability to do that is really key. Just keep the emotions, light, keep everybody happy. So even when things, again, aren't going your way, you're still able to stay in that good mindset.
No doubt about it. With such a young team like this, too, that not a lot of these guys have been maybe in any huge games, depending on their high school careers, but at the collegiate level especially, they haven't been in these big, high-pressure situations. So one would almost say potentially like ignorance is bliss. They haven't had to deal with it, so they're not quite sure. But when the moment presents itself, they'll be there to deal with it as a team, and they're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah, that'll be one of the major tasks of this Concordia team is, as good and as talented as a freshman may be, they still need to adjust to the college game, the trials and tribulations that come with it.
Oh, definitely. At the collegiate level, the game's always going to be faster. It's going to be a lot of adjustments to be made, It's almost like a puzzle piece. They might not find the right system right away. Got to try a couple different spots, but you got to hope sooner than later that they'll figure out the perfect match.
And that block ended up going off the head of Daniel Says to keep it alive. Says got hit in the head in game one, and it ended up as a kill for CUC, so a little better luck using his head this game. As here comes Valeria, right to Tiki Johnson, Deontay Garcia, David Vales from the back row, and that is no good. Hits the net. Cougars run into a 4-touch violation, and now Maranatha Baptist using a little bit of a run here. They've pulled back within 8, 23-15.
That might be the key to the SaberCats' success right there. Maybe not trying to do too much, just keep the volleys going a little bit. Once they get their rhythm, then they can go for some more power. But at the moment, you just got to force the other team to make mistakes, it seems like right now. Kind of limit them on your own side of the net, and then that could in turn lead to a closer game, as we talked about earlier. The nervous tension could end up swaying.
Yeah, Maranatha Baptist has been relying heavily on CUC errors as J.J. Schofield runs into another service error. He's been having a lot of those through these first, game plus. In game one, he had 2 service errors, and things are not looking much better here in game 2 for the freshman. Meanwhile, the Cougars serve played by the SaberCats. Vales for Tiki Johnson. He's going to set up Hoffman, a strong attack, and it hits number 8, Daniel Ernest, before going out. So point CUC, and that'll do it for set number 1. Cougars pick up right where they left off in game 1, a 25-15 set 1 victory. So we're going to take a break here on the Cougar Sports Network, and when we come back, we'll have set 2 for you. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up in just a couple minutes. Thanks for watching the Cougar Sports Network. We'll be back in just a second.
Fans, thanks for tuning in to today's game. For more information on the men's volleyball program, tune into CUCougars.com. We hope to see you at our next game.
Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network. Peter Borkowski, Dave Dimeling joining you on the call as the Cougars use a 25-15 victory to take a 1-0 lead in the match. Let's take a look at the stat leaders really quick. The kill leader, the only player with multiple kills in the entire game, that is Marcin Hoffman. The freshman had a great game 1, and he's picked up right where he left off with 8 kills so far on the day. The digs leaders, 4 players have 2. Daniel Says, Titus Houston for the SaberCats, while Deontay Garcia, Tiki Johnson for the Cougars. And the total assist leader from the night so far, from the day so far, I should say, is Tiki Johnson. He's got 10. But, Dave, we saw the Cougars continue their domination from game 1 in that second set. But let's focus on the SaberCats really quickly before we get back to play. What, in your eyes, do they need to shape up a little bit to be able to stay in this second set longer and even maybe come away with a win?
You know, what I'm seeing right now is SaberCats are going to have to find some confidence. You know, the chemistry might not be there quite yet, given it's only the second match of the season, but if they're going to want to come back and win this one, they're going to have to find some chemistry real quick. If they're lacking a little bit of confidence, maybe fake it till they make it. And once they're knotted up in a close game later on, then they'll get their confidence naturally. And just for their sake, you got to hope that they hang tough.
Yeah, communication seems to be a struggling point for the SaberCats so far today. A lot of kind of up in the air balls that no one is calling and just lands in no man's land has been a bad trend for the SaberCats team as the Cougars look to start the set with a point, and they do. Whistles blew, so Cougars are gifted the first point by the refs, and now Tiki Johnson back for his second straight serve. Johnson's serve is over. Ernest pops it up, and now here comes Nason to Hoffman. Tiki Johnson sets up Gazovsky. He'll get a kill.
Oh, my goodness. You know, the freshman right there picking up right where he left off. I mean, he's just looking to have a day, and so far he is.
Yeah, Gazovsky, this is his first game as he did not appear in the first game. So this is his first game of the 2024 season and his collegiate career as a whole as he gets a little part of that block. Him and another freshman, Jackson Stella, forming a brick wall for the Cougars. It's 3-0. Tiki Johnson back to serve once more. Johnson's serve is a high-hanging one, but it lands on the right side of the court, and that's the first point of the set. Jacob Valeria getting it done for the SaberCats. Valeria, his third season as a SaberCat, totaled 109 kills last year in 28 matches played. And he's trying to get going in this game, tied for the tallest player on the court for either team. Meanwhile, here's David Vales. He'll get a kill. David Vales, the lone senior on this Cougars roster.
Yeah, it's good to see someone mixing it in, getting a couple kills here and there other than Hoffman. You love to see the love get passed around for these Cougar offense.
And that's, love getting passed around. That's a great term for what Coach Manos is looking for. Like we said, the Cougars' major players from last year, namely Luke Vozenelik and Tyler Hollowback, who were the kills leaders from last season, they're both gone. They're graduated off to bigger things. So Coach Manos is really looking for this whole team to step up. It's not just going to be, one player, two players carrying the offensive load. He wants everybody to do that. So that means Marcin Hoffman, David Vales, whoever it means, everyone's going to need to step up as Maranatha Baptist has pulled within one here, 4-3 after that service ace.
Naturally when you lose a couple big seniors or however they might disappear throughout, you got a bunch of guys left over, incomers who maybe take a look around and see, why not me? Why am I not one of those guys that's going to fill the vacancy? And it looks like we potentially might have found a couple guys that will be taking over that slot, and hopefully the rest of the team will find themselves a place as well.
We're seeing Hoffman, Jackson, Stella have already had some great games today, and then David Vales, of course, the lone senior, is looking to really take control of this team as we're knotted up at 4 here. Gets over to Deontay Garcia. Tiki Johnson up for Stella. Absolute rocket to the ground, and the Cougars retake the lead 5-4.
I mean, you got to love to see that if you're a fan of the Cougars right there, just rising up over everyone. The 6'5" freshman from Hoffman Estates just taking care of business right there.
Gazovsky serve sends Nason to the ground for it, and now the attempt goes out, point CUC. And Dave, you've alluded to it already in this game, but I think the key for the SaberCats is just going to be don't let up that big run. Every set we've seen here today, even the ones you weren't here for, Dave, it is, close for a little bit, and then CUC really pulled away at one point. SaberCats, their goal has just got to be, like you said, keep it close the whole game until you're able to hit that streak and plow ahead.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You just got to hang tough, and they should be able to stick around for a little bit, as they have been so far in this second set.
6-5, the score in favor of the Cougars, as there's a 50-50 ball, gets batted around, whistles blow, point is Maranatha Baptist's. I think they're calling a net violation on the Cougars, and we are all tied up here in set number 2, 6-6, as Daniel says, back to serve, says a very strong serve,
wow.
But David Vales is there. That was an absolute missile, and then returning the favor is Jackson Stella.
I mean, Jackson Stella, you're going to be hearing that name for a while. I mean, just the power and the ferociousness that he's attacking those balls with. You know, you don't see that a whole lot.
Daniel says probably was feeling pretty good about himself after that strong hit serve, and then Jackson Stella said, hold my beverage, and did him one up, as Maranatha Baptist is able to tie it again, 7-all.
As you're starting to hear the SaberCats, the traveling fan base, starting to get a little bit more into it now that they got a close ball game here through this first portion.
Yeah, SaberCats have a decent fan section sitting right behind them to our immediate left, as the Cougars retake an 8-7 lead, making the trip down from Watertown, Wisconsin, even through some inclement weather, snowing on and off in the Chicagoland area the last couple days, last day or so, really. Yet still, here we are in Geisman Gymnasium. Cougars up 8-7, and whistles blow. Point CUC. It's a two-touch called on the Sabres. So Sabres getting a little loud for Aaron Mueller. Had a really nice dig, but unable to avoid the double touch, as here's Marcin Hoffman. Hoffman serve. Nason sends it to assistant coach Maddie Bumpus. Not wearing a jersey, unfortunately, which means it's a point for CUC. 10-7 the score.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be getting really excited right now if you've been watching this whole day so far. You got quite a few freshmen that are just showing out. You can only hope that they're able to continue this performance, because they almost get another ace there.
Yeah, Hoffman was a couple inches away from one, but all it did was delay the CUC point, as CUC a 4-0 scoring run now.
The only fear that you could potentially have if you're a Concordia Chicago fan is obviously keeping composure. You got to keep the foot on the gas pedal no matter the situation. When you're playing the same team this many times, it's only natural if you're blowing them out to maybe get a little lackadaisical out there, but it doesn't look like so far. They're still hanging tough and keeping that foot on the gas.
12-7 in favor of the Cougars, as Marcin Hoffman goes back to serve. Sends it right to Mueller. And Mason sends it back over. Here's Tiki Johnson. Van Gato trying to get in on the action. He can't. Send it to Jonathan Knight. Haven't called his name a whole ton today. As here's Hoffman from the back row. Back row, front row. It don't matter. Number 10 in white. And the Cougars up 13-7. And that's going to cause a timeout by Coach Sean Spencer of the SaberCats. And Dave, just like we were talking about, it just seems like a matter of time before the Cougars pull away. They do here. 13-7. We'll talk about it more when we're back in just a second. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Cougars are up 13-7 here in set number 2.
Interested in finding out more about Concordia Chicago? Head to cuchicago.edu for information on our university. We appreciate you turning into today's game and hope to see you at CUC very soon.
Well, a reminder to all Cougar fans, this is not the only CUC athletics in action today. Men's volleyball concluding the back half of today's doubleheader, and then men's basketball will be in action right here in Geisman Gymnasium later tonight at 7 p.m. Nothing like some Saturday night hoops. The women's team, they'll be at St. Norbert College, also at 7 p.m. And then the track and field teams taking part in the Firebird First up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They've been in action since 12, so looking forward to see those results from an always competitive CUC track and field team. But meanwhile, here in Geisman, Peter Borkowski, Dave Dimeling joining you as the Cougars are pulling away here in set number 2, up 13-7. Maranatha Baptist trying to get back in this one. Blocked up front. Ball is loose. Mueller can't get there in time. And CUC now doubling up Maranatha Baptist 14-7.
Yeah, the lone senior for the Cougars right there, getting in on the action, showing how the old man still got some life in him.
Marcine Hoffman, the other end of the age scale for the Cougars, a freshman, and you'll get a service ace. You cannot tell he's a freshman if you just watch the way he plays. He's been having a fantastic game, a fantastic day as a whole, and the Cougars are on top 15-7 now thanks to an 8-0 scoring run. Again, this game was tied 7-7 at one point. Not so much anymore, as that's another ace for Hoffman.
Mercy, the freshman right there. There's just a quiet, calm moxie with him. You know, the moment's not too big for him at all. You know, he's a true freshman right here, but he is just taking care of business.
And that's exactly what Greg Manos wants to see out of his team. Are these freshmen stepping up in game 1, or in this case game 2? As Van Gato, his attack goes out, so a 9-0 scoring run for the Cougars comes to an end as Maranatha Baptist pulls back within 8, 16-8. Titus Houston back to serve for the SaberCats, trying to get them back in this one even more. Gato to Tiki Johnson. Here's Arif, and he'll get a kill. Everyone showing out for the Cougars right now in this second set as they lead at 17-8.
Yeah, Arif showing off the athleticism right there. Not afraid to take off and show the distance on the court.
Only one Cougar on the entire roster has not recorded a kill in this second game, and that is Deontay Garcia, who is performing libero duties. So you're okay if he's not getting as many kills as long as he's playing strong defense, which he has been. But everyone else has at least one kill for the Cougars. Marcine Hoffman leading the pack, leading the game with 9. Meanwhile, of the other 7 Cougars besides him and Garcia, everyone but 2 has multiple kills. As point now awarded to CUC, I believe a pre-serve violation.
Yeah, appears to be a little foot violation right there.
So 18 serving 9. It'll be Tiki Johnson to go back and do the honors. Johnson already has a service ace in this game, as it doesn't look like he'll get number 2. Valeria to Johnson, Deontay Garcia to David Vales. Vales finds the back corner.
Just another beautiful touch right there from the senior. I mean, this team, it just looks like there's just a lot of moxie, a lot of quiet composure. You know, they're just taking care of business right here. You know, they're looking to wrap things up real quick.
19-9 is the score. Again, the least amount of points that Maranatha Baptist has scored in a set today is 11. That was the very first set of the day in game 1. And they are 5 away from hitting below that mark now. David Vales comes through with another kill, buries it into the blocker's hands and straight down. 20-9 the score now. Tiki Johnson set the serve again. It's a good serve. Lands in the hands of Ernest. Here comes Valeria, floats it. Tiki Johnson is right there for the defensive play. Marcine Hoffman gets the kill off the blocker's hands and off the hands of Daniel Ernest. 21-9 the score.
Yeah, it looks like any chance that number 10 Hoffman's going to get in the mix, he's going to find a way. He just loves making plays, it looks like.
That is one of the benefits of being a freshman on a smaller team, is that you're getting playing time right out of the gate as CUC gets another point here, 22-9. Johnson to serve once more. Johnson's serve is good. Here comes Valeria. Right to Deontay Garcia. Tiki Johnson, an errant touch, and 2-touch called because of it. And now that'll break a 5-0 scoring run the Cougars were currently on, 22-10. As Maranatha Baptist is going to need a couple big stretches of play here to come back. They cannot allow 3 points. Meanwhile, they need 15 to at least hit set point. And Jackson Stella, excuse me.
He's trying to make sure that does not happen.
You can see some oohs and ahs from his bench as he's brought the Cougars to within of set point. David Vales, his signature running start for the serve. It's over, and an errant reception leads to a service ace. Daniel Ernest. 24-10. Set point for the Cougars. This would be their most dominating set win of the day, which is saying something the way they've been playing. Says pancake by Deontay Garcia, but the Cougars, David Bales,
mercy! Are you
keeps it alive. Highlight reel play from David Vales, a falling one-handed dig, and somehow pings it inside the line. Like I said, game of inches. That one comes through for the Cougars, a 25-10 set win. I think we're going to need a couple minutes to digest that last play. So while we do that, we're going to send it to the break. The Cougars, they are one set away from claiming a doubleheader sweep over the Maranatha Baptist SaberCats. Come back to see if they could do it in just a minute when we're back on the Cougar Sports Network. Third set, less than a minute away from commencing here in Geisman Gymnasium. And the Cougars look for a 6-0 doubleheader sweep of the Maranatha Baptist SaberCats. Let's look over some of the game leaders. Marcine Hoffman still the kill leader with 10. Meanwhile, Tyler Laycock is the kill leader for Maranatha Baptist with just 3. The digs leader, Deontay Garcia and Tiki Johnson, are both tied for 5 in the game. And for the SaberCats, it's Luke Nason with 3. Meanwhile, assists, it's been Tiki Johnson with 19. Coach Greg Mandos giving Eli Mosher seemingly the game off after he played every touch of that first game, had a 30-assist performance. And Coach Mandos says, you're going to get this game off, but it doesn't seem to be hindering the Cougars whatsoever as they're taking a dominating 2-0 lead into set 3.
Yeah, you can tell that it didn't seem like they needed him too much, and the Cougars look to be feeling themselves a little bit coming out for this third set. I mean, and naturally so. They've won 5 straight against this team. You know, there's no reason to not be that confident.
CUC looking to start the year off 6-0 in set play, which come conference, playoff time, set record is one of the tiebreakers. So you just want to be able to dominate every set you can. Meanwhile, Maranatha Baptist trying to win their first set of the year. It took them into the second last game of last season to do that. And they're trying to reverse their fortunes a little in this opening day doubleheader of the 2024 season. Getting us started is Daniel Ernest, and he starts it with a service error. So CUC up 1-0 quickly.
Yeah, it just seems like one of those days right now for the SaberCats. Nothing seems to be going right for them.
Back to serve is David Vales. Vales, his serve is good. Nason has to get it over to avoid the 4-touch rule. Tiki Johnson and Kozovsky, a little too much sauce on that, sends it out. And now we're tied up 1-1.
Yeah, that is the potential fear for Concordia Chicago we mentioned earlier, is potentially, losing their composure a little bit, getting a little excited.
As they're right back on the offensive. Here comes Stella.
My goodness.
With a kill. A strong one. Buried it into the chest of Titus Houston. Comes away with the kill. Cougs up 2-1. And
yeah, Houston pops up a little frustrated, and I would be too if I had someone whacking a volleyball that hard right in my face like that.
As here is Godzowski. Godzowski sends it into the net. You could see his footing was a little off seemingly on the serve. Is one of the multiple freshmen on the CUC roster trying to figure it all out in the opening day of play. As here is Valeria. Vales pops it up, almost hits the lights. There's Tiki Johnson, and in no man's land. And I think Jacob Valeria's face says it all.
Yeah, just a lack of communication overall, and it just seems like this SaberCat team just seems to be a little bit dejected, to say the least.
Yeah, that ball landed right in between Valeria and I believe it was Ben Younger, if I'm remembering correctly, and just no one called it. And that leads to a CUC point. 3-2 now as Van Gato gets set for his first serve of this set. Nason sends it out on the dig. Point CUC up 4-2 now. As Gato will go back for another serve. Gato's serve is out. So Maranatha Baptist back in control as they will send back Daniel Says to serve. But David, it hasn't been the start of sets that are the problem for Maranatha Baptist. They've been in it for really the first half of every set we've seen in the second game. It's once you get into that midpoint, the later stages of these sets, where they really start to fall off and the Cougars take control.
Most definitely, yeah. These SaberCats, they got to just find the excitement, get the passion rolling. It's going to be tough to do if you're down 2-0, but they're going to try and find a way right here as they knot it back up at 4-piece.
4-4 as Says makes it 4-5. That ball rocketing off the net and hitting Houston in the face.
Houston just appears to be taking a beating from both sides. Both sides seem to be just having a attack on him, it appears.
Some friendly fire off the serve of Says.
Because there he is again.
And he's able to get this one over. A successful dig this time. Marcin Hoffman, that's popped up, hits the rafters. Nason's able to read it. Always a tricky play when it hits the roof. And Gato, that is sent way back to the scoreboard.
Wow. I mean, when you got 5 hitters on the court at one time, it's going to be tough to stop all these guys. They just want to get in on every play.
Every CUC player, as Dave mentioned, really is capable of a strong attack. The only one who really hasn't shown that is Deontay Garcia, just because he's been the libero. But everyone else has shown that they can really put the power on when they need to, as that ball just hits on the wrong side of the line for David Vales, 6-5. Going back to serve is Caleb Getz, a senior defensive specialist out of Franktown, Colorado. His serve hits the top of the net. Deontay Garcia, a diving dig. Ball still loose. No pancake, excuse me. Van Gato looked like he got some fingertips in between the ball and the court. However, judges rule otherwise, and 6-6 the score as Getz, his next serve, lands in Gato's arms. Arif sends it out. And now a lead here for Maranatha Baptist, 7-6.
SaberCats starting to get a little excited. You know, they're getting back into it, find their first lead.
And doing the splits to get it was Caleb Getz. Had some help. CUC now on the defensive, and Tiki Johnson an errant attack. It's 8-6 now. And this is the first time I can remember in a while we've seen a multi-point lead for Maranatha Baptist, as they are fighting for their match lives in this game as well as the doubleheader life, trying to get at least one set under their belt. It doesn't help is the service error from Getz.
Yeah, Deontay Garcia subs out, not to go unnoticed. He's been everywhere. He might not be meeting you at the net, but he's leading the digs right now.
Great defensive performance today from Deontay Garcia as the Cougars get called for a lift. And, you know, we've been talking about replacing the offensive leaders for CUC. They're also trying to replace the libero position as well. Blake Rosen has transferred out of CUC, and that means that Coach Manos now has to figure out who's going to be his primary libero for the season. And Deontay Garcia is making a strong case for himself so far this doubleheader. As Godzowski, a strong block up front led by the Canadian Tyler Laycock. And that's going to cause the first timeout of the day, called by Greg Manos. An unprecedented move in today's doubleheader.
Yeah, I'm not mad about the call at all from Manos right there. Just take the pressure off a little bit, get your team refocused. Just explain to them, make sure that they're aware that they're the better team and they're going to take care of business in the second half of this third set.
So we'll see what Coach Manos and the Cougars pull out of their hat when we come back from timeout. And we come back from a break here. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Cougars trailing the SaberCats 10-7 here in set 3. Teams break up their huddles from the timeout as Maranatha Baptist finds themselves in uncharted territory right now, up by 3 against the Cougars. And they have not had a lead this large as far as I can remember in today's doubleheader. As getting set to serve is Titus Houston.
Yeah, SaberCats look to be showing a little bit more emotion, a couple smiles. You know, I think they're in it, and then naturally just
a underpowered serve from Houston ruins any momentum coming out of the timeout. But the Cougars, they still trail by a pair here. And so now would be a good time to see one of those runs CUC has been able to really pull out of nowhere whenever they needed it in this doubleheader. As here's Valeria, a soft attack. Tiki Johnson is there. Here comes Hoffman. That one still alive. Valeria pushes it over. A great save there by Marcin Hoffman. Now Jackson Stella just has to power it over. Houston. That's blocked up front. Valeria's attack, and he tries to send it back over. He hits the net, and the Cougars, 2 straight points coming out of the timeout. They're back within 1 as Tiki Johnson back to serve.
Yeah, it just appears that the SaberCats look a little underprepared overall. A lot of chaos on their side of the floor. Whereas the Cougars are just showcasing a little bit more composure overall.
Back row to Hoffman. Johnson, he's going to set David Vales. His cross-court attack, no good. Lands out of bounds and over the head of some Cougar fans trying to watch their team pull off a second straight 3-0 sweep of the Maranatha Baptist SaberCats. Well, if you didn't think these teams playing 2 times was enough, they will be playing a 3rd time on February 3rd at the Adrian College Triangular over in Adrian, Michigan. So today's the last game between the two for the day. They will face each other once more later in the season. I'm sure each coach is eagerly, or I should say is scribbling down as many notes as possible from this game so they know what to do next time they face each other. Meanwhile, the Cougars back within 2.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The Cougars have just been dominating for the first 2 sets, and here they are right now finding a little bit of adversity. And you got to wonder how they'll be able to bounce back. You got to assume that they will see a lot of adversity coming up this season when they're going against such a tough NAC conference this year. They're slotted in the preseason rankings at 8 this year. How do you feel about that, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting spot for a team who, they really came out of nowhere last year. I don't think they were ranked too high. It was first year under Greg Manos. He wasn't really hired until right before the season started. And they kind of came out of nowhere, shocked everybody, upset number 2 MSOB in the tournament in the first round, and then eventually fell to a NAC champion Benedictine squad. But, you look at that, you say, oh, why aren't they higher than 8? Well, you look at everyone they lost. They lost all conference players and guys like Rosenalik and Hollaback. Colby Campbell, their main blocker, is gone now. So this is a team who, even though they're coming off a semifinals appearance, this is a very, very different Cougars team than what we saw last year. The only major players returning from last year were David Vales and Eli Mosher. Everyone else either didn't get a ton of time last season or is a freshman. So I think 8 is a very appropriate spot, at least preseason-wise, but I think this is one of the most potential-filled teams in the conference.
I totally agree with you there. If I've seen anything today, it's they got a lot of talent and a lot of just overall excitement to bring here to Geisman Arena. I think that this Cougar offense and this Cougar team overall is just like they're pretty excited for the rest of the season, look for conference play. And I can't imagine they're too concerned about where they're ranked. They know where they think they are in their locker room, and they're just looking to show everybody what they think.
And a great defensive play from the other side of the court. Caleb Getz re-gives Maranatha Baptist the lead 14-13. And the last thing I will say here is, the impact of Coach Greg Manos for this Cougars team, I think, is huge. You saw what he did in year 1. He took this team to the postseason, a spot they've never been before, with a roster that was relatively the same from the year prior, as Marcin Hoffman.
Garcia all over that one yet again.
Gets blocked, ball back over, as we got a good volley here. A floater, Ante Garcia right there. That ball was out, but they still decide to play it. Garcia again. He's been all over the court.
Yeah, Garcia with another dolphin dive right there.
Hoffman, his attack is no good, and an errant attack ends a fantastic volley from both teams, 14 all. But, I do think that Coach Manos is, finishing up our discussion of this team. I think he's a key part of this team's success. I think he's one of the best coaches we've seen in the NAC, at least going back to last year. And I think he's one of those coaches who can pull a lot more from a roster than you might expect.
I agree.
So we'll have to see just how the things shake down for the Cougars. A long way to go as we're still in just game number 2 of the season. And Maranatha Baptist, they've hit point number 15. This is tied for the most points they've scored in any set today. They did it back in set 1, and then they did it back in set 3 of game number 1. And that serve lands in. So this is the best performance we've seen from the SaberCats today.
Yeah, perfectly placed ball from Sez right there. And you got to wonder, is there a little bit of nervous energy over there on the Concordia Chicago bench, maybe on the field of play?
And there's a service error, so the Cougars back within 1. But not even just nervousness, Dave, but also fatigue. I mean, we talked about it. This is a team who they have 9 guys on the roster. They're really just playing 8 this game because Eli Mosher is sitting out after a very, very, a good game 1, but a game 1 that I'm sure was very tiring to the sophomores. The Cougars tied up at 16 off the service ace. So this is a very short-handed team, and it doesn't. At a certain point, it doesn't matter how well conditioned you are, how talented you are. Fatigue's going to catch up to you as another service ace.
Yeah, I tell you what, it does not look like Hoffman's showing any fatigue, and if he is, he must have a lot more juice in the tank.
And now, because they've relinquished what was a multi-point lead, Maranatha Baptist is going to call a timeout. 17-16 is a score in favor of the Cougars, and we're going to keep it here. Because, Dave, I think this is a really good point for the Cougars team to kind of see who they are in the early going of the season. You know, those first 5 sets of the day, as good as they were, you never really saw them face any kind of strong adversity, which is something that you pointed out not too long ago. Now they have that adversity. Maranatha Baptist is playing the best volleyball they have all day long. And I think this is a really good test in the second game of the season for Coach Greg Manis to see, all right, how does my team respond when we are down by a couple points to a team in Maranatha Baptist who's playing with a lot of energy right now?
Most definitely. You look at the SaberCats right now, haven't really been in too many close games today, and they're finding themselves deeper into this game than they have been at any point, and they're getting a little excited, maybe a little more than a little, and, you know, they got to wonder, why not at this point? Why not just win this one right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, winning a set would be huge for this Maranatha team. Again, this is a team who, in their 31 games played last year, they won a total of 3 sets, all of which came in the same game, their lone win on the year. And so, that win didn't come to the second last day of the regular season. So to be able to say, hey, we already won at least one set on opening day. Yeah, maybe we didn't pull away with the win at the end of the day, but that would be a huge point of growth for this Maranatha Baptist team, especially the way that they've just been clobbered all day long. And Arif gives the Cougars a 2-point lead as he just floats it over the head of the 6'7", Taylor Laycock. And now Hoffman back to serve again, 18-16. A strong serve, but a good serve. And showing frustration was Ben Yanger. He ducked under that one because I believe he thought it was going out. Instead, it lands inbounds. Cougars up 19-16 now.
Yeah, definitely some crazy body language we're seeing out of the SaberCats. They know how close they are to pulling out a potential set victory, and this is the closest they've been all day, and they're getting a little frustrated now that the going's getting tough as the Cougars look to be going on one of those infamous runs.
Ball still up as Houston sends it to Deontay Garcia to Tiki Johnson. Here comes Hoffman, a rocket, whistles blow, point. SaberCats, net violation on the Cougars.
It appears they might have been getting a back row attack on Hoffman. He's just getting a little more excited that one.
So a 5-0 run comes to the end. CUC still on top, though, 19-17. Tiki Johnson floats it over, and Ben Yanger, who stands at 5'8", just not able to get up enough for it.
Beautiful touch right there from Tiki. And it looks like you take a look at that huddle, and they got guys like Garcia and Hoffman getting the boys a little excited. And it seems like those two guys especially, they're going to make sure that the SaberCats are not going to pull out the surprise third set victory.
Ball is over and out right into the hand of Danny Coates, CUC assistant coach. And 21-17 the score now. Both coaches still have one timeout, so we'll have to see if Coach Sean Spencer of the SaberCats, who has now stood up, and that ball in no man's land, and there it is, the last timeout of the set for Sean Spencer as he finds his team down 22-17. So we're going to take a break here on the Cougar Sports Network, and when we come back, we're going to see if the Cougars can finish off the SaberCats for this third set, win the second game, and come away with the doubleheader sweep. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the Cougar Sports Network in just a second.
Hey there, we appreciate you tuning into today's game. To stay up to date on all things CUC men's volleyball, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CUC MVP. We'll see you on campus soon.
On the Cougar Sports Network as we get set for the resumption of set 3. Cougars are on top 22-17 over the SaberCats as Arif serve is an errant reception as Yenger just looks discouraged after that last reception. 23-17 the score now is Arif.
Yeah, SaberCats look to be getting a little more timid right now, playing a little flat-footed. They don't want to be the reason to make a mistake, potentially end the day.
Blocked up front, ball is down. CUC front line getting it done. And now the Cougars at match point looking to sweep the Wildcats, the SaberCats in not only this game but in the doubleheader, and they will do it. Service ace for Aiz Arif, and that'll do it. Cougars, they win the set 25-17. They win the match 3-0, and they sweep the day. A perfect 6-0 record in set play in today's doubleheader as they will start the 2024 season 2-0. Let's take a second to look at some of the leaders from this second game of action. Marcina Hoffman was the kill leader with 11. Meanwhile, for the Maranatha Baptist SaberCats, it was Tyler Laycock with 4. The Diggs leader, Deontay Garcia and Tiki Johnson, both with 8 for the game, while Daniel Says and Titus Houston both had 4 for the SaberCats. The assist leader, Tiki Johnson, he got the nod at setter for Coach Manos. He had 23 in response. A great day from Tiki Johnson. Meanwhile, for the SaberCats, Titus Houston had 8. Blocking leader Leon Godzowski with 5 on the day. Tyler Laycock was the leading the SaberCat with 2. And that is all she wrote. Cougars 3-0 sweep of the SaberCats. Dave, let's get your final thoughts on this Game 2 victory and just a great day of volleyball in general.
Yeah, great
for
day.
The Cougars.
Great day for the Cougars overall. You look at that second game right there. I mean, when you see the Cougar athletes just dominating all the stat sheet. There's a bunch of stat sheet stuffers over there on that bench. And, you know, that's going to be a great victory overall. Great way to get the season started.
Well, saying thanks to everybody who made this Cougar Sports Network production possible. Down to the scores table, Jessica Gang and Wyatt McLaughlin. Sebastian Miller floating around taking photographs. Working the camera was Tyler Dorsch, and our producer for today, Ashley Schroll. And joining me on the Cougar Sports Network was Dave Dimeling. And one more time, the Cougars, they pull off the match sweep against Maranatha Baptist, 3-0. Come away with a 2-0 record on the day and the season with their doubleheader sweep of Maranatha Baptist University. They'll be back in action this upcoming Thursday, January 18th, when they travel to Augustana College for a 5 p.m. match. Coverage for that can be found on our website, cucougars.com. But until their next home game, which is on Friday, January 26th, a long way to go when they take on Wabash College at 7 p.m. Until then, this is Peter Borkowski signing off the Cougar Sports Network and wanting to say, as always, go Cougars! Well, don't go anywhere just yet, Cougar fans. A surprise post-game interview with head coach of the Cougars, Greg Manos. That is coming up shortly, so if you're still sticking around, stick around for just a couple minutes longer. Once again, head coach of CUC men's volleyball, Greg Manos, join us on the Cougar Sports Network for a post-game interview coming up shortly. Don't go anywhere.
Nation, we love the support you give us on and off the court. We
Well, one more change for you, Cougar. As just I say that, Coach Greg Manos does show up, so we are going to do the post-game interview as originally scheduled. So give us 1 second, and we will get set here. Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network, Cougar fans, and I'm here joined by Coach of Cougars, Greg Manos. Coach, congrats on a big opening day. 3-0 sweeps of the Maranatha Baptist SaberCats. Got to make sure I get that SaberCats name right. A lot of different big cat names going on in there, but Coach, let's just start out. I mean, what were some of the biggest takeaways from those 2 opening games? I know there's probably a lot of good you want to talk about, but what really stood out in your mind about your team's opening play today?
I think our big thing is just the amount of change from last year. We knew that there would be maybe some first game jitters or hurdles, but the guys rocked it. I mean, they were really adjustable. We saw a lot of good from our freshmen, which I think is really encouraging to see. So just systematically, there's a lot of good to take away from it. And we're just excited with the results as part of it.
Right, and you mentioned those freshmen. That's something we talked about in our Coaches Weekly, was just the need of these freshmen to step up immediately because of the size of your roster. I mean, they were being thrust into starting roles game one, and for the most part, they took that in stride. I mean, Marcine Hoffman had some great games. Jackson Stella was the kill leader in that first game. So as head coach, I'm sure that was really beneficial to see from you, for you to see of your freshmen immediately stepping up and taking reins of this program.
Absolutely, and not just have a good game, but dominate, right? Take control, like you said, without hesitation. And we're talking about a variety of whether it was approaches, angles, things of that nature. I mean, they went after it, and they were really good about it. So to see our freshmen step up, and all of them across, whether there's offensive or defensive efforts, we're very optimistic when we can see that progress in that amount of time.
Right, and let's kind of focus in. That last set of the day got a little worrisome at the end. I mean, Maranatha Baptist, credit to them, they were playing their best volleyball of the day when they really needed to, and I'm sure you were really happy to see that, you know, for the first time you were really being challenged with adversity. You know, you guys were down by a couple points. Your team stood tall. They remained composed. They came away with the end. I'm sure that was really nice to see for your team. Yeah,
you know, it got a little tight in that last set, but like you said, I think our guys did a good job after a timeout of just refreshing and getting back to what we need to do to win. So they did do a good job of controlling and bouncing back immediately after. So seeing that short memory is awesome. So hoping to continue to see that when teams give us their best.
And now you guys are back in action this upcoming Thursday, taking a trip to Augustana. Where do you guys go from here? What do you really want to see this team build on when you take on Augustana Thursday?
So we know Augustana is a really competitive program, whether it was us playing them in the past. And then going on the road is also a whole nother hurdle and challenge. So for us, just knowing we got to step our game up. They're going to have some film on us, but at the same time, it's their first game. So we have to continue to be adjustable, right? Facing that adversity and that change in a quick demeanor. And, I mean, for us, the sky's the limit. We just got to make sure that we're clicking as fast as we can and, again, continue to bounce back with that short-term memory.
Right. Well, Cougars back in action this upcoming Thursday when they travel to Augustana. That game will be covered on our website, cucougars.com, where all updates for men's volleyball can be found. Coach Manos, thanks for joining me here post-game. Congrats on big 2 wins to open up the season. Hope to see more from this team going forward. But until next time, this is Peter Borkowski signing off of the Cougar Sports Network and wanting to say, as always, go Cougars.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.